Hi, I'm Marina Sirtis, and you're going boldly with Beyond Trek podcast.
This is Beyond Trek Podcast, your source for Star Trek on social media and around the web. I'm Big J.
I'm Watney.
And I'm Dag, the Trivia Master. You can find us on Facebook at Beyond Trek Podcast and on Twitter at Beyond Trek Pod.
Red alert.
I hope yes, Watney, get your drink ready. I've got my prune juice, and I think Dag has brought a big suitcase because he has a lot to unpack for this episode, and we're going to be talking about Star Trek Picard, Episode 7, Nepenthe. And first of all, I'd like to introduce ourselves. I'm Big J, here with...
I'm Watney.
Yeah, we got Watney.
And I'm Dag. And if you're paying attention to this episode, there's going to be some serious spoilers alert. So press pause and then come back to it.
Yes, we got.
Or watch and spoil. It does up. We're just a podcast. We're not cops. So do whatever you want.
It's kind of true. Your own world.
Yeah. So if you're hearing this, we've got the alarm for the spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler.
So
I'm so glad to be here with you guys. Talking about this incredible episode that made me cry.
It made you cry.
Like the first time in the series I've cried. So
wait a minute, are you telling me that you liked this episode too? Is that 2 episodes in a row?
Look, if you're gonna put the Rikers in an episode, I'm gonna like it.
2 episodes in a row that Watney liked. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right.
So yeah, I think we're on a roll kind of, and yeah. Okay, Big J, what's your review? What did you think? Give us like an overview.
Okay, so here's what I think. I'll just go ahead and start a little bit. I won't take up too much time initially because I know Dag has been real fidgety all week about this episode.
Just like 2 days.
So right, okay, yeah, just for 2 days. So this is what I really like, and you're going to think that this is silly, but with the way that Picard's meeting with Will Riker was great. Here's what I liked about it. And this is what makes to me feel that Picard is such a natural, more organic, a little more relatable of a show. And that was when he saw Picard walk in and Riker's all smiles and he says, "Oh man," and gives him a big hug. And that right there, it might seem like it's, I don't want to say out of character, but that's exactly how I greet someone that I haven't seen in a while. So that was like, okay, well, yes, that is exactly how you would think someone would react, and they weren't stiff. It didn't feel stiff. It felt like it was genuine excitement to see each other. And he's making pizza. We're talking pizza and all this stuff, and that was great. And I really like the introduction of Kestra, of their daughter, Riker and Deanna's daughter. And there was there was so much wholesome, and I don't want to go over all of it, but that's my initial thing is it really felt like we were watching something that we could relate to.
Yeah. Absolutely. I get what you mean about it feeling genuine, and I'm sure it was genuine because these people loved each other for like the better part of a decade and had so much fun together on set, became the best of friends, and for them to be back, I'm absolutely certain that it's a genuine reaction. So we can get more into the details, but I will say that this episode was I was kind of wondering, honestly, if the last episode was kind of like a fluke. But I'm glad to see that the momentum has continued and they're giving us crazy good along with crazy bad. And there's a really strong balance for me, and I really appreciate that from a writing standpoint. So
here's what I
overall
think
pretty good. Yeah, go Dag.
I think they said, let's see, Patrick Stewart said when the show first came out, or even before that, this was basically a 10-hour movie broken up into 1-hour chunks. And what do you get with a movie? you get a solid level of exposition and backstory before it goes
Act
into
1.
the final act.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on the cusp of that. This was episode 7. There's 3 episodes left. We are on the cusp of trying to tie up the loose ends that we've created, as well as potentially creating threads that will go forward into season 2.
Okay. How do you think this episode fits into that arc? That movie arc?
This is the breather before Act 3 starts.
The calm before the storm.
Before the shit really hits the fan.
Right. Yeah. We had 3 or 4 episodes that were slow. That they felt slow. We were like, man, there's just nothing happening. We're just, we get a little bit and then nothing, and then a little bit and then nothing, and that's the exposition. What is the world?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get, 2 active, 2 or 3 action episodes in a row. We get Bejazel, we get 7. We get the last episode on the Borg cube, and Eleanor gets to fight, and so we get this middle of the movie set piece where the heroes are left in a precarious position. And now we're in that breather where Picard and Soji get a break. They're the main characters. They get a break before they get to go right back into the storm. And by 3 episodes left, we're going to get to that home world. We're going to see if there's any more synths there. We're going to figure out the secret of the Zhat Vash. And Starfleet's probably going to need a new head of security when this is all done.
Oh, you think?
I think Commodore O is going to get
Commodore sunglasses.
So you don't think that Narissa or Narek are going, either one of them is going to die? Because I think there's a lot, and that kind of is upsetting because I like Narek a lot more now that he's not like in your face. I love you.
Right.
Like, I need some googly eyes for my fingers because that's what it feels like with him. But now he's like actually like he's stalking the ship that we love and care about now. Like he's just cooler now. I guess that he's not talking.
I guess
not to sound mean, but
you just want eye
like,
candy. Also, I'm going to look at him. I don't want him to talk.
he's kind of cute now that he's not like playing a soap opera character. Like,
I mean, did he even have any
he's
lines in
cute
this
now.
episode?
No, he cursed in Romulan or something.
That's right.
What was
Yes,
like
yes,
Kapla or something?
I don't know. That's Klingon.
I don't know. Is it? Am I just randomly spreading Klingon? I don't know.
Yes.
Kapla means success in Klingon, but
Kapla. Okay.
Nahal would let us know.
Apparently, I'm a Klingon savant. Did not know this. It must have rubbed off from our episode with the Klingon expert. So I do like him a lot, but do you really think that Narissa isn't going to die? Because I actually really like her. I think she's really brutal. I think she's smart and intelligent. She ended up, and if you have not seen this episode, you need to turn back right now.
Right.
But she ended up killing Hugh.
Oh,
Which he poked his head out, and I was like, "Get your fucking head back
Yes,
right
do not
fucking now!
poke your head out. That's like rule 1.
What are you doing? You don't need to see what's going on. You don't need to see."
Right.
Okay, that moment was a classic Trek episode. It's
It
a classic Trek fight where we're in the middle of the fight, and then for no reason whatsoever, we stop fighting so the bad guy can kill somebody. And it's like, Eleanor, you were right there. You could have grabbed her hand. Why are you like whining about this blade in your face? You are Kawat Malat. Break her arm, take her out. But no.
Keep your head on a swivel. And yeah, you're right. And you're asking about these two adversaries. I don't think I would be upset if they lived, because I think that they're good adversaries. I don't know that the next season, well, we have no idea what the next season is going to be, if there's would be any place in that story for them. But I'm just saying that if we got to the end of this first season of Picard and either one or both made it out, I'd be okay. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
And
Same.
You're right, Dag. It's funny how, and I'm sorry, Watney, you said Hugh sticks his head out. Looks. It's kind of like in the movies when something is exploding behind them, they're running, or someone's chasing them and they keep turning around and looking. Okay, stop doing that. You're either going to make it or you're not. if you're running and you keep turning your head, you're shifting your momentum, the direction in which you're going. So that's just something that always
There's
bothers
no really
me.
benefit to you looking, because it's you're either gonna see they're far away and you're gonna slow down,
You're either going to get got or you're not.
or they're gonna be right behind you and you're like, okay, I'm gonna die. So
Right.
yeah, I think like Narissa is okay. So I like both of them for different reasons. I like Narek or Hyan because he is clearly clearly a conflicted character now.
Mm-hmm.
He has some depth. He's also very intelligent. He's patient. He's like that side of the coin. And he may also have actual significant feelings for Soji. Whether or not those come to realization later is a different story. But I like that. I like where he is now as a character, because he did something he knew in the moment he didn't want to do, but he felt like he had to out of duty. And so that makes him a better character to me now. And I like Narissa, the other side of this sibling coin, because she is pure, ruthless, will do whatever it takes to complete the mission, and she does it really well. She acts her ass off and just convinces me of the character, and so I like them both, and I hope that they stick around. I do like them now.
Two things about Narissa.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear it.
So the first thing about Narissa is that in my head, and this is sort of beyond Star Trek, but
that's why it's beyond Trek.
The cinematic villain good one. The cinematic villain pattern has changed in the last 50 years. 50 years ago, it was good versus evil. You knew who the bad guys were, and the good guys always won. The bad guys were always killed. 30 years ago, you had sympathetic villains who could be turned. If only we gave them a chance, it would be okay. And you get a lot of these movies coming out where we sympathize with the villain, and the villain has a change of heart, and we move on as friends. Now we're in the era of, we know who the good guys and bad guys are. We have our sympathetic villains. We give our sympathetic villains the opportunity. So the good guys look like better guys, because it's like, man, you really roughed us up, but we're gonna shake your hand. And the bad guys spit in their face anyway. And
right.
I think Narissa's gonna go out that way. I think there's gonna be an opportunity for her to redeem herself, and everyone is gonna be like, okay, and she's gonna be like, nah, screw you guys, I'm out.
Yeah.
And I would hate for her to go out that way, because I would love to know more about who she is and where she came from. And I don't want a cookie cutter bad guy Jat Vash villain. I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think anyone does. But I think also I do actually, after seeing this whole episode and where we are at the end of this episode, I feel a little bit of like, there is a little bit of a sympathetic villain going on, because we see what Jurati had in her vision from the mind meld with Commodore Shades. And if that truly is the future, we, the audience, don't know. Jurati doesn't know. She just assumes it's correct because this is a person of authority and she's trusting that. If it is true, I understand where Narissa is coming from. But I also think that the job was made for somebody like her. Someone who is ruthless and will carry these things out. So I don't know how it's going to end for her, but I like her character as the ruthless villain. I think she's badass, and I'm pissed at her for killing Hugh, but it was what her character was going to do, so that's what happened. But I don't know how it's going to end up. But yeah, I think you're right. I think she may end up, like you said, die. Now that I think about it, now that I hear it, I think she's gonna be given an opportunity, and she's just gonna be like, shins on and just squander it, basically.
So that was the first thing about Narissa. The second thing is, I want to take like 2 seconds and just commend all of the actors are included in this, but really, Star Trek has been about progressiveness, and I want to just really appreciate that all of the women characters in this show have their own agency. Nobody doubts them, nobody questions them, they're not just there to further along the plot. They all have their own agency. They do
Mhm.
what
Oh
they want
yeah,
to do, and nobody gives them any crap for it.
right.
And Narissa's included in that, despite the fact that she's Star Trek Azula Cersei.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I think for me, like it's interesting you point that out because for me, the way that women are in this show is just feels natural for me and my personality and like who I am. And I didn't actually like I'm like filing through the characters in my head, thinking about okay, which one's past the Bechdel test or however you pronounce it, the
Oh yeah,
Bechdel
the
test.
Bechdel test.
The
Yeah.
Bechdel test, like which one's past that? And honestly, like they all do for the most part. Um, beautiful thing, beautiful thing. Thanks for bringing that up. It's makes me think more about it. I hadn't been thinking about it because it was just natural. It felt good. It felt whole to me because that's how they're
We
portrayed.
all would
So
have seen it if it wasn't that
we
way.
all exactly, yeah. I was gonna say we would all know, like what Troy was in
Right.
TNG, unfortunately. But now we see her. So let's get into like the timeline a little bit of the episode.
Okay.
So we see a whole lot happen. What's the first thing we see? We
The mind meld.
see the mind meld first.
The
So
mind
let's
meld.
talk about that. And I was trying to like pause the episode to catch like all the little blips,
Yeah.
but I couldn't. Like I just couldn't get it to go correctly. So I know you probably did, Dag.
I did. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, we do have a lot of these images scrolling overhead or scrolling on the stream right now. The very first of these images are
There it is. There's the meld.
the screenshots from
Mhm.
good timing. This is the beginning of the meld. And it's a very emotionally powerful moment. We see Girardi. It flashes back and forth between events and Girardi and events and Girardi,
Mhm.
and then they break apart. And even the Admiral has this look of terror on her face, as if not only she's just reliving the emotional experiences, but she's feeling Girardi's emotional experience. Well, because that's what the mind does.
Mhm.
But we see Commodore O leading these cloaked figures in this ritual that seemingly drives them all insane and has something to do with major explosions and the planet dying. At
Romulans
least
or
one
Vulcans?
planet. That's a really good question. I'm going with Romulans because I think Commodore O is a Romulan, and because Romulans and Vulcans share a common ancestry, Romulans can mind meld. We just haven't seen it before. Doesn't mean they can't. We just haven't.
She probably is Romulan posing as Vulcan because she needs sunglasses, which Vulcans would
Well,
not need.
No inner
Right?
eyelids.
I
Right?
mean,
What are you gonna say, Big J?
I was just going to say at first, when we saw Commodore O and the sunglasses, there was a lot of speculation going out about how, well, she's a Romulan, and the tell is the sunglasses because the Vulcans have that third eyelid, so they can be out in sunlight, whereas the Romulans did not develop that. And when it's quite a sunny day, like it was, then yes, she's wearing sunglasses like any normal person would who's not in the shade when it's that bright. But then you have the misdirect of the mind meld. And here's the thing. I can't recall at any time in any episode that it was explicitly stated that Romulans could not do a mind meld. However, it really seemed to me that it was strongly implied that that was strictly a Vulcan thing, and that the Romulans by nature would, one, not only not ever have any reason to do that, two, they've never been known to do that, three, that's a very that was a taboo in Vulcan culture for a long time, according to episode in Star Trek
mind
Enterprise.
melding was?
Mind melding was taboo for not at the start. And you guys, Dag Trivia Master, you might have to help me clean up a little bit of this, but I know in Enterprise, T'Pol said that basically mind melding was against the law.
Right.
They took it as a form of assault. Well, okay, no, I'm sorry, not assault. It was very taboo.
Super taboo.
Yeah, super taboo.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was why I thought, okay, no, Commodore O couldn't be a Romulan because of the, I don't know. I don't know. There's first I was thinking, yeah, definitely Romulan. But now that this is happening, I'm back to thinking, gotta be Vulcan because Romulans have no need for that. But I digress. I don't want to get too far into the weeds with her because I would love to talk more of the Rikers because there was so much wholesome in
Right.
there.
I do just want to say
Yep.
that it's canon that the Remans are a caste of Romulans,
Yes.
and we know the Reman viceroy was able to telepathically link Shinzon to Troy. So there's a minute precedent
Yes.
that the Romulans may have some lingering telepathic ability.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that.
Okay. Well, we don't know, I guess, then, because we just don't know yet.
Inconclusive. It's a little bit
Inconclusive.
inconclusive
It
now.
could totally be
As
one
of
of
yet.
those things where it's like, yeah, Romulans have always had this ability. They just never used it on screen. And I'd be
Yeah.
like, okay.
Right. Right.
It could be, that technology and positronic matrices and fractal neuronic cloning has gotten away from the Federation, and it could be that they played with things they should not have,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be that way. And I honestly, after seeing the mind meld, I'm not in disagreement with Commodore O. Like, if it's going to cause mass destruction, maybe we should be rethinking this.
You're not wrong. I'm right there with you.
And that's
I'm
why I
going-
think they're sympathetic, and it's really nice to see it, because at the beginning it was like, oh, they're bad, they're doing bad things. But now we know their motivations, and we see how they're acting on them, and I think it's a little more whole as a plot device, as a plot piece.
See, I just got to toss out the question. Nobody needs to answer this, but if they had a legitimate concern, why wouldn't they bring this up to the Federation government? Be like, look, here's the history. Check this out.
Why would you bring it up to the Federation government when you can be the Federation government?
Well, I suppose that's true.
Good point.
I would like to think that if you had a legitimate concern about the safety of trillions of people,
Mhm.
wouldn't you just bring that up to the government and not rely on slinking into the shadows and
Yeah.
sneaking around and destroying other synths? Because that's not going to create sympathy for you. That's going to create sympathy for the synths.
It's true. And I think we should be sympathetic of the synths still, because as much as you say one person in this group is bad, it doesn't make the whole group bad. I'm sure the synths don't like being the way they are either. And there's nothing to say they weren't hacked by somebody else. And at this point, I'm not even sure that it was Javash, which is who I was thinking it was. So anyway, I want to kind of like move on and talk about the next scene, which the next scene after this one is when we see we cut to the ship. What's the ship's name? Our ship?
La Sirena.
La Sirena. We cut to La Sirena, and our beloved crew is stuck in a tractor beam.
Yep.
And they're getting pulled into the Borg cube, and then we cut to Narek, who's they let them go. He hops into a tiny little snake head. Is that what they called it? I thought that was kind of cool. I think that's what they said. A little fighter jet. So he goes and follows them, and then we get into the Borg, where we see Narissa and Hugh. Now, this scene was very well acted. I really believed the agony that he was feeling. Seeing his friends die in front of him, these people he worked so hard to reclaim and heal. Obviously his friends, I mentioned in the last episode, I thought that he might have had a small following of friends that were XBs, and I think these were definitely those people, if those existed, and now they're gone. So he's not willing to give up the location of the Queen's cell, and Narissa's not having it, but she can't kill him because he's Federation. So yet.
Mm-hmm.
So any thoughts on this scene?
I love the buddy cop vibe that we got from Elnor and Hugh. That was great. I really like. I was hoping for maybe a little more out of Hugh on the action front. I mean, sure, he got to play a part in that, and I don't know why I assume that he would have a hand-to-hand combat experience, but I like that buddy cop vibe for a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, and
I agree. I loved it.
yeah, Elnor and Hugh, buddy cops. Well, and Hugh lasted for a couple episodes, so that's a plus, right?
Yeah. I do agree with you. I wish that we had gotten maybe a little bit of aggro board stuff. Just even if it was in like the ledger domain of, oh, let me reprogram the cube to reconfigure here to lock them out of away from us and create a new hallway, and they can just go play around over there, and we can. That would have been really fun.
Right.
I'm really glad that in this episode, Elnor wasn't assimilated. So
Yeah.
I'm glad he wasn't. Yes, he's, as we'll get to a little bit later, he'll make it. Now, we've got to get to my favorite part.
Okay. Yeah.
Seeing Riker and
Yes.
Troy, seeing them together for the first time since the TNG episode, These Are the Voyages. And that was a huge treat for me. Yeah, Dag, you're looking a little confused. Yeah,
the Enterprise episode,
right? The Enterprise. Oh, that was the Enterprise
Right,
episode. Are
right,
you sure that was no? That was
yeah, because that was
a TNG
that-
episode,
oh.
basically. Yeah, it's
that
a
was
joke.
the Pegasus Part 2. For those of you who are in the know about that episode,
Mhm.
highly regarded as the worst episode of Star Trek of all time.
Oh God.
It was.
I don't think I've seen that one. Well, we can't disregard the beginning of the whole Riker family
Yes,
thing,
when they're
because
greeting.
they walk through the Queen's special thingy. Spatial trajectory. Thank you. We walk through it. Somewhere within 40,000 light years, they end up on Nepenthe, which they're greeted by someone with a bow and arrow. And Dag, who does this end up being, and what is your connection to this?
Castra!
Why are you so excited?
I'm so excited about that. If you I don't know, this might be a little bit of self-promotion, but I run a page on
We
Facebook
don't care.
called Team Riker, and for years I have just been kind of dabbling at blogging in Riker's persona. And a few years ago I was like, hey, we've got a daughter, her name's Kestra, she's 15, and so this was super validating for me.
It's like they were reading that. I swear to God.
Wow,
It's like they
yeah.
were reading that.
I
And then
didn't
they were
know-
like, oh, that's a great fucking idea. And Kestra is who? What's the name Kestra? The namesake of Kestra.
Kestra is, of course, Deanna Troy's sister, who
Right.
died, as featured in the episode The Dark Page.
Mm-hmm.
Very,
Yeah.
must have been very cathartic. To
Dag, I didn't know you were moonlighting a whole other page on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Facebook, Reddit, Trek RP, the whole thing. We've
Yeah.
Starfleet if there is Trek, Dag is probably there online.
Right.
So
I'm glad you mentioned. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you. Go.
I was going to say I'm glad you mentioned Reddit, because we're talking about the beginning of the meeting on this planet with Riker talking to Picard, and I love this line. This is from the r/Picard weekly discussion thread, and this was from a user, says J_G_B, and he quotes, the ass deep in Romulans made me laugh a little harder than it should have.
That Picard said that, didn't he?
No, Riker said that to Picard. He said, I told you you were
no,
going to be ass
I
deep in
think it was
Romulans.
Picard that said that. I took a
Riker.
note, actually.
Yeah, Riker asked Picard, what did I tell you? And Picard says that I'd be ass deep in Romulans.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because I was like, holy shit, Picard just said that? Because I just remember
Mhm.
when I was watching. Because I watched it with subtitles this time. I learned from you. I learned from the best
good.
guy.
Good.
And I turned subtitles on like right almost towards the beginning, and I'm so glad I did, because I caught all of these like made up languages and all these fun things. So
Mhm.
I just want to talk really quick about
Okay.
the trek to the log cabin,
Yes.
where you have Kestra and Soji talking, or Kestra and Kestra's behind Picard and Soji, and she's like, well, who's your dad, or something like that, and Picard's like, Commander Data, and she's like, oh, so you're an android, and Soji just has this fucking existential like shit happen. And honestly, I don't blame her. I'm trying to put myself in her shoes. Everything to her must seem fake. is this a movie that I'm living in?
Right.
What are my hands? What are my appendages? Like, do I have any effect on reality? What is reality?
When
You
you
know,
find
it's
out you're on
that
the
kind of
Truman
like,
Show.
it's that kind of like mindfuck. Exactly. It's
You
almost
bring
like
up
the
the-
Truman Show. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It is the Truman Show because we're watching her on TV. She's
Oh
not
my
real.
God. Okay. Whatever. But in the narrative, she absolutely has this moment of that is the moment, because we hear
Mhm.
later Kestra's like, well, I think you're awesome. And she's like, well, up until you said you implied I was an android, I thought I was clinging to the last of my humanity or whatever.
Mhm.
And she's like, oh, well, your dad wanted to be human, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, let's talk more about meeting the Rikers. Picard walking up to Troy. Troy's like on her porch. She's just
Yeah.
doing Troy's stuff, looking fly, looking hella good, looking snatched. She's wearing heels. Her wig is the same wig from Nemesis, by the way, because Marina Sirtis actually stole that wig from the Nemesis set.
She did.
She did. And so it's the same exact wig that you see in Nemesis. It's just a little styled a little differently, but it's the same one. She's looking great. She sees Picard, and then her empathy kicks in. She realizes he's having like some trouble physically. He's having some trouble mentally. Something is going on with his health. And you know, being an empath, that affects her. They have a lovely moment. I'm so glad they took the time with that reunion, because that relationship was very important to me in TNG. And I'm just really glad we got to see this. They gave a lot of time to these interactions, and I was very grateful for
The
that. So
anticipation really paid off.
yeah, the anticipation. And then he goes in to see Commander William Riker, or maybe he was a captain, actually. He's probably captain.
Riker. Mhm.
Captain Riker on reserve, making pizzas with his family. Just like the most wholesome
Pizza.
guy. His hair is like standing up. He's got like the gray beard, but he's still as sharp as ever.
And he's listening
He's
to
still
jazz.
sharp. He's listening to jazz. He's
Mhm.
smart. He's still just as intelligent. He's on like his feet. He's still so sharp. And I just love that he was able to tell Picard, you're not ready for this.
Right.
You know, that I just love their interaction. So what did you guys think of the log cabin, the reunion, all that? What did you think?
I really liked all of it, the log cabin, the reunion, because when we were talking earlier about how if this were a movie, this episode was kind of that calm before the storm, and that made me think
Mhm.
of Avengers: Age of Ultron, and
Mhm.
it was after the Avengers pretty much got their asses kicked by Ultron, and they all went to Hawkeye's farm, and they went to the farm just to kind of
Oh, they
rest, hang
Yeah.
out. Yeah. They went to. Oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on Hawkeye's real
had a
name?
wife, kids.
Yeah, my brain just totally shut down. If you heard the sound of that USB unplugged from a computer sound, that was my brain disconnecting.
did.
Trying to Clint Barton, there it is. So they went to his farm. He's got a wife and kids, and Thor hangs his hammer. Oh no, I'm sorry, that was in Thor 2. He hung his hammer on the coat hook. So yeah,
There's
they're
a
all,
lot of Marvel. It's okay.
A lot of Marvel. Yeah,
Yeah, we
Yep.
get
I
that,
would
we get
know,
that
right?
slow.
Yeah, so
it's
they're on
the
the farm,
strengthening, the emotional bolstering before the crisis moment.
Iron Man and Captain America are just chopping wood,
Yeah.
recollecting themselves, and then that's
Yeah.
what it felt like in this episode. And so they have this reunion, which I'm glad that they spent the time with. And
Mhm.
here, every moment of this was really felt like it was a place you could realistically see yourself in. You've got the
Right.
the curious teenager in Kestra.
Do you like Sherlock
hanging out.
Holmes?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
You play
She's just
violin. You like
that.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
You've got Riker.
Do you have mucus?
Yeah.
Yes, I have mucus.
Yes, I have mucus.
We've
Anyway,
got
go
a-
ahead. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you.
We've
Go
got
ahead.
we've got a farm. We're making pizza today.
Mhm.
There's a real shower scene instead
Outside.
of outside.
It's an outside shower.
Right.
It's probably rainwater, honestly.
Right. Outside shower. I love the scene where Kestra and Soji we're in Kestra's room. Soji's just laying on the bed, and Kestra's just sitting there, sitting crisscross applesauce, wearing a t-shirt, and it's like this. This is just totally you kind of forget it's Star Trek, and I'm okay with that because it is doing something that Star Trek to me had never really done. There's so many small moments that are thrown in there that makes these characters interact and act more like you would think normal people would. Riker giving Picard a hard time about how, I told you were going to be in deep shit, old man, but you didn't listen, and all of that. And I like that their cabin has shields and a whole
oh my god,
protective
yes
thing.
I wrote a note about this. It's amazing. He's like, shields up, red alert. I'm like, oh my god, Will, I just love you. I just love you. Like, the whole cabin was amazing because there's no rank and file.
There isn't. No,
there isn't in the show. There's nothing like that. They're all friends. They're all trying to get through whatever is coming forward towards them. And there's no rank and file, and it's kind of like it's more of an organic interaction. And I think that's honestly it's kind of a necessary thing that we never actually saw. I mean, we saw a lot of genuine moments in Star Trek, maybe more like an Enterprise, but with TNG, it was very like shields up, red alert, take us out, engage, very proper, very philosophical as well. And there were definitely like humorous bits thrown in, fun bits thrown in to TNG, like I am not a married man, like stuff like that. But with Picard, you're getting everything else except that. You're getting out all the other things. And then we learn about Thad.
This was sad.
No, I don't know all that much about Thad. Has Thad been mentioned in previous canon?
Trivia.
Wait
for trivia.
Okay, we'll wait for trivia. So they open Thad's room. Obviously, the empath is having a very difficult time. She probably hasn't been in that room in a long time.
Well, he was born in 2381. We're in 2399, and
he would have been 18.
Yeah, Deanna said he would have been 18. So they had him during their tour of duty on the Titan. So he was born
after
and raised.
Nemesis.
This is after Nemesis, yes.
2 years.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So 2 years after Nemesis was when he was born.
Yeah, I think that in the scene when they're in Thad's room and Deanna's like, I loved him so much. Picard's like, yeah, I'm obviously not going to put you guys in danger. And she's like, that's great because I could not lose Kestra, old man. Yeah. So just understand that. Like, I love you. And Riker and her call him Jean-Luc.
Sure.
So, and that's something they always did. They always did in the show. That's still so in character. And then you have Rafi, who's like JL. It's just such a callback to the respect of, and not to say JL is disrespectful. It might be to some people, they may not like it, but I think Jean-Luc is more respectful of him and also more in character with Troy and Riker. So I think, doesn't Kestra call him Captain Picard? Like,
yes.
It's just really
Captain Picard. He could be your family.
Yeah. So he gets settled in. He's probably there for a couple days, and during this time, the La Sirena, is that what it is?
La Sirena.
La Sirena is having a really rough go. So we cut back to La Sirena. Rios is piloting, Rafi's hacking, whatever. And Girardi is losing it. Like, I'm really glad, and Dag, you'll know why.
She's cracking up.
Yeah, she's having a hard time. Like, and Dag, you'll know why, but I really love the sick bay stuff that we got in this episode. I'm a huge like Trek medical person, and to see the technology in there, and this is not even a Federation ship, but just to see like the replicator and just the technology in there, it was really cool. And so Girardi gets confronted by Rios, and she thinks that he's going to call her out, but really he thinks Rafi is the problem, when really Girardi took like this basically Tums that tracks her. And so that's obviously in her bloodstream now, and that's not going to go away unless she dies, probably. That's the logic in her head. That's the logic in my head. I'm sure that they will innovate a way out of that.
Mhm.
But so Rios is like, all right, we'll just stay here. I'm going to go pilot whatever. And she's like, I'm going to kill myself. Because I can't make this, I can't fucking do this anymore. And I get it, because she already murdered someone. She already murdered
Right.
someone that's on her conscience, someone she loved. And she's like, I just don't know if I can live in this situation. So
And then she ate a
she
bunch
takes
of
matters
cake
and
and just went
she ate a bunch of, she tried to, self-care,
with sweets, which understandable,
right? Didn't work. And I loved Rafi, like, not on Planet Rafi, Planet Mama Rafi. Like, she's just killing
Speaking of
it.
cake, I've got some right here. I haven't had a chance to eat it's my
Oh,
dessert for this. I've got
chocolate?
some,
Well
yeah, it's chocolate
done.
cake.
That looks good. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So it's funny.
And Rafi's like, oh, I'm a wreckage of a good person.
Sometimes you can put enough of me back together to get a good person, but I'm
Yeah.
just wrecking.
Yeah.
That's like people looking at me at Tumblr and being like, I'm trash.
Yeah. I did love this scene, despite the fact that Girardi's foaming at the mouth during a part of it. Then the EMH gets activated. So that happens. Timing. That thing's it's probably going to stay on, just really quick. That's going to stay on, I bet, to help through this crisis. Like, he's in a coma. While she's in a coma, they're going to be like, oh, by the way, did you know she murdered somebody? Like, while she's not awake, and they're going to be like, what the fuck are we going to do with this bitch? Anyway, go ahead, Zach. What are you saying? I could just see Rocky being like, holy shit. And then she's like smoking in sick bag. Like,
when I was taking
60s.
notes, I was taking notes on my first watch through because I've seen it twice. And on my first watch through, in like all caps, I'm typing, how is this EMH the least competent hologram in the quadrant?
Yes.
it just appears and it's like she's foaming in the mouth on the floor and he has to be like, what's your medical? Oh shit.
Oh bloody hell.
Yeah, that plays into the argument that the emergency medical and artificial intelligences have been greatly shackled,
right?
As a result of the synth
not all there
thing, right?
So,
and not only did they shackle the emergency medical programs, they completely banned the manufacturing or creation of positronic matrices, which is why Thad died. Troy,
right.
just back to Nepenthe, Troy says that Thad had a disease that could have been solved and cured by creating a positronic matrices and doing the treatment within that or using that, but because it was banned, they couldn't do that.
Yeah,
and
he had just to touch on that, he had mendaxic neurosclerosis. It was a silicon-based virus that was curable if the infected cells were cultured in a positronic matrix. Which I have no idea how that works, because I have a robot and I put infected cells in the robot and I close my little robot and I shake it up and boom, cure.
But isn't that like similar to the holographic virus, kind of? Maybe a little bit. It's kind of similar. Anyway, that's a sidebar. That's a major sidebar.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you gonna say before I went on that?
Oh, I was just gonna say that the going through threads and other theories and stuff like that. Some of the interesting stuff is that the thing she injected herself with she was not intending to kill herself. She knew that the chemical that she had synthesized would disrupt the tracker, neutralize the tracker that she
because she's a smarty pants, of course. I'm not, so I assumed she was gonna kill herself.
We see later in the cockpit with Narek, he's got the whole tracking system up, and then the little blip fades. So whatever she did to herself is cool, and I mean, slight spoiler, but in the teaser for the next episode, we see someone talking to her. So
do you guys want to jump to the
No, I'm not ready for teasers.
No, not yet. We got a lot
on Nepenthe.
We got a lot to cover.
Okay.
So anyway, she's in a coma. Let's just fucking go back to the people we love and cherish. Not to say we won't by the end of the season, the people on the ship, but let's go back to Riker and
Right.
Troy and
So
Soji.
And the pizza.
so she has that amazing heart to heart with Soji, where she reaches out and is like, "You have been through a crazy amount of crap.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing I can do to convince you this is real, so I'm not gonna try. But
Right. And
I'm gonna let you know
who
that
better to talk to Soji
right,
than the Counselor Troy.
right,
Mm-hmm.
The Counselor Troy of the Enterprise, the USS
The-
Enterprise.
Commander Counselor Troy. Yeah,
I was literally nerding out so hard because she is like in her element. You don't know who you're talking to, Soji.
Mhm.
You haven't seen TNG.
And
You don't
really
know.
awesome. One thing that's really awesome here that sort of makes up for that one episode where Troy lost her powers and suddenly couldn't counsel anymore
Mm-hmm.
is that she can't read Soji, and here she is counseling. Like, thank you for making up for that, because Deanna Troy is a
Yes.
trained freaking psychiatrist. She knows how to do this.
Yes.
Just because she doesn't
Yes.
have her superpowers doesn't mean she can't do it. She's not Clark Kent. You give Clark Kent kryptonite and suddenly he doesn't know how to fight.
Right. Yeah. Come on. Can't
Deanna
fight
Troy.
nothing.
She's Deanna Troy. She's degreed
Mhm.
multiple times. She's a commander in Starfleet.
Right.
She can handle a little thing like not being able to read the pizza in front of her.
Read the pizza and whatever. So we learned about Nepenthe too. That a reason they came there is because it has regenerative powers in the soil, which is
yeah.
why everything grows so well, and the tomatoes look like they're fucking fake. Like, I want to eat one.
Those were
They
good
look so
looking
good.
tomatoes.
They were really good looking tomatoes.
So I know this is going to break the canon of the episode, but why didn't they just take Thad back to that episode from Insurrection where everybody got healed and younger?
Are you saying time travel?
No,
going to the Briar
Baku
Patch.
the Baku homeworld.
Well,
the rings around the homeworld gave everybody perfect health, and they were able to live forever.
You know, I would think
Mm.
people, and this is not to diss on the Rikers, but I would think people as resourceful and rule breaking in certain circumstances as the Rikers would have fucking made a way to make it work.
I don't think
Would have found a way to save their son.
Well, I don't think it would have, and here's why. It was because it was a silicon-based infection, and when you're dealing with carbon-based life forms, silicon just that does not go well with our chemistry
Oh, yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so I think that was probably wise, because yes, you're right. The Baku homeworld has the whole regenerative, make you younger. Geordi got his eyesight back kind of thing. Worf got a pimple. Counselor Troy, not Counselor Troy's, Dr. Crusher's, breast got firmer. But when you're dealing with this kind of disease that's silicon based, I don't think there was. You're in a completely different ballgame when it comes to silicon and carbon based life. So I don't see that it would have worked at all.
I don't know. I'm not saying Baku Insurrection Planet. I'm saying positronic matrices.
It was
I'm
banned.
saying
It was banned.
I know, but that's what I'm saying is people
Yeah.
like Riker and Troy being as smart, intelligent, capable, experienced, spectacular, never the same, like just people being like them could make it work. They could figure
I
it
would
out.
agree.
And maybe they wanted to try it
Well, here's the thing, though.
holistically with the soils of Nepenthe, but
It was their essential oils. They went to the essential oils planet.
I'm not saying it doesn't have an effect,
to
but yeah,
run
you're
them
right.
there.
It essentially is essential oils.
Well,
Like,
so
that's-
here's the thing that I'll counter with what you're saying there. You're right; they are very resourceful. But here's the thing: the thing is that, and we've brought this up before, that since Data's discovery in 2333, Data, Lore, B4, their mom, no one has been able to successfully create a long-term functioning Soong type android. So what that means is there is nowhere, no place, no how that the Rikers could go to create or manufacture the positronic matrix they need. Their best bet would get one that's already existing, and you're talking the body of B4. The body of Lore is somewhere. That someone's got him somewhere disassembled. I don't know. I don't think they put him in the incinerator. And then you have all the synth that attacked Mars. But did they keep them sheltered away somewhere, or did they just drop them all into a volcano? So basically you can't make it, because no one in Federation science or history has been able to really successfully duplicate that work. So you're not going to go anywhere to make it. You have to get one that's currently built. And you just B4 Lore, if he's around, his body, and the synth that attacked Mars, they're probably under such a lock and key that even thinking about them is like punishable by court martial, probably
I mean,
treason.
I don't think that Troy and Riker are the type of people to give a shit about that.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think that they have broken regulations plenty of times to do the right thing. That's what TNG was about.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't Soji and Daj don't they have positronic matrices? Like they are positronic, correct? Oh, I understand. I'm just curious. Like it must be very painful for Troy to see that. Like, you could have basically saved my son, but you weren't fucking around. So.
Well, and I got a whiff of that from Troy too. The way that she was saying that felt very like, you represent the thing that could have saved my son.
Right.
I did pick up a little bit. I do think Marina Sirtis is skilled enough of an actress to pull that off. So I do want to just skip a little bit, and we can agree to disagree on whether the characterization of our TNG faves would have done that. But I do think I want to cut to when Riker's making the pizza, and Soji walks up and does the head tilt.
Oh, the head tilt.
Did any of you guys get that before he talked about it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, because I didn't, because she looked at the pizza and did a head tilt, and I'm like, is she hungry? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Right.
So I'm glad you guys caught it, because 2 out of 3, that's good. I did not.
Riker said I've seen that head tilt. She's got some data in her.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but even before he said that, as I was going through the episode, I'm pausing it to take screenshots, and there, I've got a screenshot of the head tilt playback on the video for this. But I had written down data quirk head tilt. I was like, yes. So yeah, that was definitely something that stuck with.
Yeah, for sure. And that scene with Riker, just really quick, that scene with Riker really showed. I just wanted to make a note that not only was Jonathan Frakes and playing William Riker sharp as attack, on top of it, still as capable as ever. But I really feel like Patrick Stewart came to life as Jean-Luc around these characters. I feel like you could see more of Jean-Luc Picard when he's around these people he was with for like 7 years or longer. Like that
15.
Yeah, total, plus like all the movies and everything, and or including the movies. So I think you could tell Picard really was like there when William Riker was there.
Yeah.
And that was something I just love to see, is you could just see Picard there. Something I've been missing a little bit. Like I feel like as time has gone on, he's kind of been diluted or been weakened, and that is totally fine, because that's part of aging and that's just what happens. But I felt like some part of Stewart was like really happy that he was with them again, and Picard just kind of jumped out a little at me. So
Jay, I think you had something to say about the chemistry between them.
Yes, the chemistry between them was exactly how it would feel when you see someone that you haven't seen in so long. Someone who who is a dear friend. The entire thing, and especially when Will and Picard went out to sit by the lake, sitting on that bench together. It's just the way they were talking. When Picard thanked him for not trying to talk him out of the whole thing, and Picard smiling, just kind of pats Riker's hand is on his shoulder, and then when he's leaving, big hug, kisses for everyone. It just, yeah, I mean that got me right in the feels, because it felt a lot like, here's someone that we haven't seen in a long time, who we care very much about, and now we're quite possibly watching him go away for the last time.
Mm-hmm.
And it you could really feel that, and that's just something that to me is frustrating when I read all this stuff online about people deriding the shows. This isn't Star Trek. They're not boldly going. They're not discovering new things. We don't have our episodic content. It's not TNG Part 2. Like, come on, this is stuff that makes me feel like I can relate to these characters more. They actually feel more human. They're reacting the same way that any of us would in these situations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part that kind of gets me, is because we didn't get much of that on the show on TNG.
Uh-huh.
Sure, there
Yeah.
were some moments, but it's those little nuances. There's little nuances that keep getting sprinkled in that I think are those blink and you'll miss it moments
Mm-hmm.
that are great. And maybe I'm too easy to please, because I just like that my son Nacho and I can watch Star Trek together on TV, something I did when I was his age, and we can sit and shoot the shit about Star Trek, and do a podcast together. So it's I don't know, that's what gets me is and I'm not saying that everyone has to like it, and you can't dislike it. It's just, if you don't like it, then don't be mad at someone who does.
Right, absolutely. I think our team, our co-host team, is a really good example of that, because
Mhm.
I was kind of like disappointed the first few episodes, and something I love about Beyond Trek, not to get too meta, but we all have our own opinions about these episodes, and we all get different things from them. Some of us get like nostalgic things, and some of us get writing and development things, and we just, not to say I don't get nostalgic, but you guys grew up with it, and
Right.
I'm more of like I binged it in college. I know I mentioned that before, so, but I definitely agree. I think in TNG you get Protocol,
Mm-hmm.
you get Starfleet Protocol, and then the humanity peeks through
Yes.
a little bit from time to time. Whereas with Picard, you get the humanity, and then you get the respect of the protocol from the
Mhm.
people who were in TNG.
Correct.
You don't necessarily get that from the new cast members, but you do get it from the people who were there. And I think that that's a great homage, is you're respecting the good that came out of the rank and file of TNG. So,
After that wonderful, heartwarming moment,
yeah.
we get dragged back onto the cube.
Onto the cube again.
Uh-huh.
And Hugh and Elnor are trying to figure out a way, and Hugh's just rabidly like, I'm going to take control of this cube, and I'm
Mhm.
going to use it, and we're going to kick them out of here. That's going to be great. And then she shows up, and she's like, "Oh, good, you're opening, you're treasonous. I'm going to kill you now." And it's like, no,
Right.
No. Let's
Uh,
fight.
but Evan
Choose your
Evagora
fighter.
gets his fight scene. Evan Evagora plays Elnor.
Uh-huh.
He gets his super elusive fight scene.
Well, how did Naris know that he was Kwisatz Haderach or
Kwisatz Cataract. Yep. Benedict
whatever
Cumberbatch
that
got
is-
it.
Right.
Kawat Malat.
Right. Kawat Malat.
And-
Because aren't they all supposed to be like warrior nuns?
They're supposed to be all warrior nuns
Female
who are women.
warriors,
And
yeah.
here's my speculation. She's Zhat Vash. She
Mhm.
obviously knows the Kawat Malat exist. My guess might be that she has engaged and killed some Kawat Malat in the past, and
Holy shit, you're right.
she's aware of how they fight, and she can recognize his style and go, okay, you're a dude, but you fight like those nuns, so Kawat Malat,
I know you.
you know, and
Kawat
she even
Malat.
says
Okay.
like, this is not how Jadvash fight Kawat Malat, if that's what you really are.
Mm-hmm.
And then
puts his sword away.
she puts her knife away. The snake.
She puts her phaser away.
She puts her
Phaser,
phaser
yeah.
away. Yes. She puts her phaser away. He puts his sword away, and then they do the old fisticuffs.
She kicks him and he roundhouses her in the face. And
I know.
love it.
Oh my god! When his heel in space time connected with her chin in space time, I thought a singularity was gonna form, and it was gonna be like just the purest expression of joy from me watching. You know, and then during this fight scene, I'll come back to real quick, but just during this fight scene, when Hugh pokes his head out and she like gets out her fucking throwing knife and darts it at his fucking jugular.
Mm-hmm.
I clapped. I was like, no. Like I could not believe what I was watching. I know.
Did you slap the table?
I did. I did the
If you're listening on Anchor, we have a scene of Hugh getting that critical hit.
Oh god, his face does not look cute there. Oh my god, I'm so
no.
sorry, Jonathan. Anyway, what were you saying, Dag? What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna make a joke about how if you turn the audio up really, really high, as soon as Elnor's foot hits her chin, you can hear fucking mint.
Fucking mint. How did I not notice that? It should have been in the subtitles. Fucking mint.
Hugh goes down. Elnor goes to him. Narissa, if that's her real name, raises her weapon at him, and he flings the dagger that she killed Hugh with back at her, and she disappears in the transporter.
Conveniently beams out of there.
And I want to just point out that dagger flies into the side of the Borg cube and sticks. Like, Elnor is a lean muscle machine.
Oh, he is. I think that's why she bailed.
Yeah.
I think she knows she cannot take him like
if she
without her knives.
Would have drilled a hole straight through her.
Oh yeah,
I
that
know.
would have taken her off her feet.
So the question is did she beam out? Does someone beam her out?
I think she beamed out.
She probably beamed herself out. I would agree.
You remember the Stardust City rag where when the fight started, all those other people were like, we're out.
They all dipped.
I think she had like a version of like a bailout transporter.
It was the yeeter.
She yeeted herself.
She yeeted right out.
Captain, she
she got
herself.
yeeted. Yeah.
So,
she can yeet herself away from me because I mean, as much as I think she's a cool character, just stay the fuck away from my beloved Elnor because now he's all I have left.
And he's all alone. And
he's all alone, and we see him. Go ahead, Big J. What do we see?
He shines the bat signal.
He does.
Yeah.
He
fucking
does.
Table.
The Fenris SOS. We have, if you're watching our YouTube, and once again for our audience, if you're confused about these screenshots we're referencing, we have a YouTube channel, Beyond Trek Productions. Come and check us out. You can watch us have these discussions, and while we're doing that, we are running screen caps of the episode, so you can see what we're referencing while we're referencing it.
I like that. Go Fenris Rangers.
And go Fenris Rangers. So yeah, and we have a screen cap where Elnor is looking at, or he's just blurry a little bit. But in the foreground you see Fenris SOS activated. Right? That's what it says?
Something like that.
Yes.
Something like that.
He's calling
loose interpretation. Calling for some help, and he clutches it and he holds on and he waits. So we'll get to more of that with the teaser discussion later. We're not quite there yet. But that's the last we see of Elnor, right? That's the last we see.
Right.
We go back
of
to the
him
cabin. And they're having dinner.
Oh yeah, we go back to the cabin. Actually, after that scene, I think, or before the cabin scene, we see the cake scene with Girardi. That's before she does the whole like, I thought she was gonna kill herself. But that's before she does the whole I'm putting myself in a coma, I guess. And we see Rafi basically like piling shit in pajamas, and she's being like a mom, and she can just turn it on and off. I totally get it. Like maybe she missed mothering her son, but she can just turn it on easily. So we see all that scene with the cake. I'm sure you guys listening to this have probably watched this. So after that, correct, we go to the cabin, and the candles, I gotta say, are immaculate.
They were nice candles.
The candles are beautiful. The food looks great. The company is the best company you could ever hope for in the galaxy. So we have Troy, Riker, Kestra, and Soji sitting at a dinner table. Oh, and Picard. I'm so sorry. I forgot Picard.
Picard was there too, right?
I know, but these are my babies. Understand me, Riker.
And they're finally sitting
Riker
down.
And Troy.
They're finally sitting down to eat the pizza that they spent the whole goddamn episode cooking.
I know. Do they have a microwave? Because they have to keep it warm.
Is a wood fire.
It was daylight when they were making the goddamn pizza, and now they need candles to see each other. So surely they've either already eaten that pizza and they've made more, or they have to reheat it. I don't know. Let's not get in the weeds.
But it was only one pizza to feed. To feed 4 of them.
No, he definitely made more. Do you know how quickly wood-fired pizzas get churned out when you have an oven like that? You can make a pizza in like 5 minutes.
I would have had a whole one to myself.
Same. It looks really good. So Kestra has 1 slice. Soji, as a guest, has 2 slices. Right?
What's the rule of being a guest?
The rule of being a guest. Anyway, so they talk on the dinner table. She is. So they're
like a teenager.
Soji's like debating on whether or not to like tell anyone anything, which I don't disagree with.
Right, like, about her home, about where that is.
Because they basically spent like a month infiltrating her life, like with a fake lover to get that information from her. So she's like, I'm just not going to give this shit out willy-nilly. People are trying to fucking kill me over this stuff.
Right.
So, so she's hesitant. Picard's like, finally Picard, because we see in the episode, we see earlier in the scene with Soji and Troy, Soji gets up and leaves. Picard's very brash to her, and Troy sticks up for her.
Yeah.
She's like, you do not know what that woman has been through. You don't know what the Romulans have put her through.
Very counselor-like, but you had it coming.
Exactly. I completely agree. And I'm sure it was written to be that way, that we agree with her, because Picard is being the person he's been the last few years, waiting for his life to end.
And that moment is super awesome, because I don't know, but I just think it's important to show that friends can have very strong disagreements and criticisms of each other and still be cool with each other.
Yes.
And
you're not being yourself.
Right. They have been friends for 36 years. And, he said at her wedding, you've been my guiding star. And so she stands up and she's like, this is not how you do this. You need to be doing this way. You need to be Jean-Luc
Picard.
Right.
That's exactly what she says. You need to be Jean-Luc Picard.
And they walk away from that arm in arm.
Yes.
They're still as strong as they are.
Right.
And he can take that level of criticism and take it into himself and go, you know what? You're right. I think I can do something with this. And they don't have friendship ending battles over a little bit of
Right. They don't exist in an echo chamber.
Right.
Which is so refreshing to see. Because I think my opinion is if you've ever let someone in front of you in traffic, you're probably an okay person.
You mean you don't speed up when you see their turn signal? They won't want to try to merge, and the front of the car lifts up off the ground to try to cut you off?
No, I think you can save a whole lot of aggravation on both people's parts if you let people in. And I think a majority of people have let one person at least into traffic in front of them.
Well, I'm telling you,
I think
there's nothing that makes someone speed up faster in the lane next to you than turning on your turn signal.
Yeah, but Jay, where you live, that's the thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, maybe it's a Midwestern
like courtesy
courtesy thing. But a lot of people here, at least, if you've let someone into traffic ahead of you, my opinion is that you are probably a semi-decent person. It doesn't take a whole lot. And I think you have the capacity to be very good. And so I tend to have that worldview, and it extends to my friendships, wherein if you fuck up, you upset me, we usually talk about it. And if you're my close friend, it's not going to end our relationship if we get into one spat. And if it does, it probably wasn't a deep friendship anyway.
Right.
So I think that it's very amazing to see this kind of friendship on screen where you can say, you're not being yourself. This is why you're wrong. And I love you. And now let's go eat some fucking pizza. I would, that's the utopia I want to live in. Not like perhaps flying in the stars, which would be cool, but
order a pizza,
having loving conversations of growth with friends and then eating pizza together. That's what I want.
And right there, Picard is like, look, I know you've got like extra senses, so listen to the timbre of my heart. Look at the dilation of my pupils and tell me, you know, I wouldn't be that kind of person. And Kestra's like, do you believe him? And still, I'm glad that Soji's still skeptical here. And she's like, I know that he thinks he's not lying. And that's really solid, because again, this isn't your pappy Star Trek. We're not just going to be all hugs and happiness after a day of
keep her skeptical,
hanging out with these people that you literally just met after one of the most traumatic moments of your life. Two of them. One, you just found out you're 3 years old. Two, the guy that you were sleeping with just tried to kill you.
3, you just ate a real tomato for the first time in your life.
And that's traumatic.
I mean, you have to think, she's only been alive 37 months.
Right.
Yeah.
Who dumped her off on that fucking cube?
She probably woke up on a transport believing that she had been there the whole time, and she just left from university. And
I know,
Yes.
I know, but like, think of the nuance in programming that requires someone to activate consciously without an understanding that they have just done that.
Speculation moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that we're gonna see another program in her from Maddox. It's gonna pop up and say, you discovered the reason why I sent you to that cube, because he tells Picard right before he dies, I sent her to the cube to discover what was going on with the synths and the attack on Mars. He suspected something was happening there. He's on the right track. And as soon as Soji puts it together, that underlying consciousness we talked about in the last episode is going to put 2 and 2 together and play back a program. And it's going to be Bruce. And he's going to say, okay, you've connected the dots A, B, C, and D. This is where you come from. This is how it all came to be. And this is what you need to do. And then she's going to be Neo flying through legions of Zhat Vash with laser eyes.
Give me it!
And she's going to destroy the planet and live up to the prophecy.
Give it to me now. Give it to me now.
But she in that moment, she trusts Picard enough to tell them about the dream, and she lays out the details of the planet with the 2 moons and the lightning sky.
Right.
And everyone's like, all right, cool. Now we just need to know this. And Kestra's like, oh yeah, it's blibbity blop in the
By the way, I'm a fucking teenager.
I was talking to Captain Crandall via text, and I'm like, why does a girl like you have a captain's phone number? But then I'm like, whoa, why are we questioning her agency?
Look, his ship is named the Inside Straight, which is the most badass ship name I've ever heard. And I hope we get to see this motherfucker.
Captain Crandall.
Yeah, I hope we get to see him the Inside Straight. You don't come up with a fucking cool name like that and not fly the ship in
That should be one of the sequel series, Captain Crandall and Kestra.
Yeah, give me a spin-off. I haven't even met him yet, but I want it.
Get Scarlett Palmers and let's get Naomi Wildman on this ship.
Yeah, I think Soji has kind of a realization during this dinner scene that she can't progress. This will stop. The progression of this either simulation, this story, or this reality cannot continue without her doing her part and revealing this information.
Yep.
And So I'm glad she takes a step. I mean, it was kind of necessary, but I'm glad she also had hesitation, because I don't think it's realistic for you to have an existential crisis one day walking through a forest and then eat a tomato that tastes really fucking good and suddenly trust everybody you meet.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's realistic. So I'm glad that she had that hesitation, and I hope we still get that out of her. I hope it's not like I trust Picard and he is mine and I am his, or whatever Soji was talking about. I hope it's a little more skepticism about everyone. And I hope Picard becomes her rock or her guiding star, her northern star. But I hope we still get hesitation from her, because she is emerging and blooming, and it's like, into what? She doesn't know into what. She knows that she's the destroyer to this person on a cube. So I'm sure that's also on her mind. Like, she doesn't know what she's capable of. So she's very like, I would love to be here and stay a farmer and not do anything. But she knows that her destiny probably is not on Nepenthe. So
The next morning, wake up, Kestra's in a t-shirt drawing her.
I know,
Gives
so
her-
cute and creepy. I love it.
gives her that, you and Picard could be a family thing.
Yes, that's why I mentioned.
And
Exactly.
then we get the big hugs.
Big
Oh, the
hugs, and
Mhm.
farewell.
So many hugs.
Don't cry. I think you're amazing. You're 3 years old, so I get to be the boss of you.
and that is so much like what a big sister would say when she's, or what a sister would say when she is looking for her sibling.
Yes.
Yes.
Because I bet Thad said that to her.
I'm sure that Soji is projecting and filling that silhouette of Thad with the image of Soji a little bit. She's
Maybe.
definitely missed him a lot.
Well,
She
learned all
dresses
the
up as
language.
she learned all the languages, which, let's talk about those. I mean, how many languages did Thad invent? He was somewhat of a genius, right?
12 if you count the language of the butterflies.
The language of the butterflies, Papla. Harpanthi is the language of the mind
Trivia.
witches of the Southern Ice. Sorry, did I just spoil that for you?
No. You're right
Okay.
on.
And then Vivine, spoken
Yep.
by the wild girls of the woods.
Yep.
There was another one called Arpani, or is that like the made up name of his homeworld that he never had because he
Arvanti
grew up?
was the made up name of the homeworld.
So Thad grew up, of course, as we mentioned before, on the Titan. So he was like, "Oh, you have a homeworld. That's fucking cool. You're Bajoran. Tell me about it." But he never had his own.
Right.
So he kind of made his own when they got to Nepenthe and he was sick, so he could like have that. And he made up all of these geographical places. There's maps in Kestra's room, and
Oh yeah. He's the J.R.R. Tolkien. of
he's
Star Trek.
literally
Yes, he
yes,
is.
he's literally that. Like he's a fucking smarty pants. So sad we would never get to see him except maybe in a flashback or something. But so yeah, he makes up a whole bunch of languages, which I thought was very cool that they included those tidbits of him and how
We got a
Kestra is
strong
still.
sense of who that
Mhm.
character was.
Yeah, I felt like I kind of knew him a bit for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, very cool. So then I think they say their goodbyes, right? You see, get
Kestra
that
gives
loving.
Soji that broken compass.
Yes, she gets the broken compass. Probably going to be a prized possession.
I'm
And
over
then-
here going Chekhov's gun.
Oh.
Even a broken compass is still susceptible to magnetic fields.
Yes, it is.
But you can't show a compass in a movie without firing it.
I think
gonna be
there's
turned
into a
a
weapon.
number. I think there's a number of moments of Chekhov's gun in this show that I'm like tidbitting off. It could just be throwaway stuff. That compass
Mhm.
could never be important again.
Right.
But I felt like the show's not over.
Yeah.
See what happens.
I think Soji might use that as like a reminder of reality. Kind of like, you know, how in Inception, the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio,
The little
how
top.
they have tokens that
Yep.
they take
Mhm.
into the dreams to remind them if they're in a dream or not.
Yes.
I think that she might use the broken compass, and if she's in a dream or something, it might actually be a working compass or something.
That'd be
Like
interesting.
that's how I interpret that maybe being used, which would be badass.
Maybe it's a metaphor that Soji is broken and without direction right now.
Yeah.
Just like the
that's
compass.
And
deep.
she has a fucking dream, and the
Mhm.
dream is her path forward, and the compass points north to the path.
Mm.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes,
That
it
would be
would.
so cool.
That would
So
be
I
cool.
think, does anyone have anything else? I think we've hit the end of the episode, right? Because
Yeah.
they hug and kiss.
I want to do the trivia before we do the teaser talk.
Okay.
Trivia.
Trivia. Hit it.
So it's trivia time.
Trivia.
All right. So the first thing that one of the first things we get introduced to is Thad Troy Riker, who is an archer. He's got a statue, a little award a trophy that he won. If you remember, Thaddeus Riker was an ancestor of William Riker's, who fought in the Civil War and was rescued by Q.
Oh
in
my
Voyager episode
Jesus.
Death Wish.
Yeah.
That's
a good
How do you
one.
make these connections?
He's the trivia master.
I'm Trekipedia in my
You
brain.
are the human encyclopedia. So.
In his shed, Riker's listening to jazz. Jay, you pointed that out.
Mm-hmm.
He's a jazz player. He plays the trombone. So continuity.
Yes.
Okay.
I like it.
Still loves it. Yeah.
Kestra tells Soji that Data aspired to dream, tell jokes, and learn ballroom dancing. And these are all callbacks to the episodes Birthright, Phantasms, Data's Day, and The Outrageous Okana, where he has dreams, learns to tell jokes on stage with Joe Piscopo, and learns how to ballroom dance with Crusher.
Okay.
To be dancing at the O'Brien's wedding, because that's where they're going to get married.
Right.
We talked about this briefly. Will and Deanna Troi lost their oldest child. Deanna's mother, Loaxana, also lost her oldest child, Kestra. Dark Age.
Right.
Soji takes a real shower at the Rikers. You brought that up too. It's the first on-screen appearance of a real shower in Star Trek since the Enterprise episode Singularity.
Oh, it's not a fire shower. You're totally right. I didn't even make the connection.
Right.
That's big.
There are several episodes after Singularity that we see a shower, a real shower, well, a water shower, but they're hallucinations.
Right.
So the Enterprise episode Singularity is the last episode that features a real shower in Star Trek.
Holy shit.
I love the trivia.
Amazing.
Will calls Deanna Imzadi.
Of course.
It means beloved in Betazoid. And they've called each other that since Encounter at Farp, the very first episode of The Next Generation. Deanna says of Soji, her very consciousness has been violated. Deanna
Oh,
plays
because
the
she
victim
fucking knows.
of mind violations twice in the episode Violations and in the movie Star Trek Nemesis.
Yes.
Good catch.
The empathy
connection.
does not just the gift she has. The empathy is the experiences she
Right.
has as well.
She knows what it's like to have her mind mess with.
Mm-hmm.
It is said that Captain Crandall operates at least as far as Tychon's Rift.
Right.
Tychon's Rift was the site in 2367 where Deanna's dreams helped save the Enterprise from being stuck there. If you remember the term one moon circles,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
it's a reference to the
yeah.
hydrogen, and they have to use
Yes.
hydrogen, and the alien on the other side does something to free them both from.
Isn't that
the-
where they're all having bad hallucinations? Like
the
when
TNG
Crusher.
episode Night Terrors?
That's
Yeah.
right, because Crusher, that scene with Crusher and the body bags.
Yeah, the
and
bodies
Right.
are sitting
the
up.
corpses rising.
Right.
One of the scariest
Uh-huh.
fucking things in
Yeah.
Shrek for me.
It's because they
Besides
can't reach
the
Ren
needle in the eye for
Picard.
Picard.
or Icheb.
Or Ichib.
Yeah.
Yes, although I kind of blacked the fuck out because that was so gory. But I remember
Right.
as a kid, the needle in the eye for Picard was a huge thing. But then seeing Crusher have that experience was insane. And then also her kind of saying, "Go away,"
Yeah.
and then it went away, and I was like, "Oh my shit, it's crazy."
Yeah, there's a
Anyway,
reason I haven't watched that episode again.
I would love to rewatch it. We should rewatch it all together.
Yes, we
and,
should do like a scary
avoid the
Trek
scary.
series.
Yeah, that would be great. Stay tuned.
right.
Stay tuned,
So
audience. Anyway, what else?
The last bit of trivia comes from this episode, and it has something to do with Harpanthe that you mentioned.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thad card. Okay, so there's connections here that I made.
Mhm.
Deanna Troi speaks Harpanthe. She said Thad made up a bunch of languages. She said Harpanthe is the language of the mind witches. Deanna's empathic, and Betazoids are telepathic. And I'm pretty sure Thad, the teenager's like, "Mom, get out of my head, you freaking witch." So
Oh my God, at the Southern Ice.
Harponthi's like the teenage rebellion of telepathic people getting in his brain.
That's so fucking funny. Oh my God,
Just
you're right. You're
imagine
right.
what kind of grandmother Loaxana is.
I love it.
I want to see her, please.
Oh, but we won't because
Yeah.
Angel Barrett passed away.
I know, but they can do that thing that they do with like Leia.
Deep faking, yeah.
Yeah, deep fake
The
her.
deep fake, yeah.
Or
So
just give me her voice or something. You know?
That's all the trivia I wrote down. But doing this episode, I thought of one more thing.
Okay.
When Kestra comes out with the bow the first time, Picard says, "You might want to aim that at my head because my heart's made of duratanium." Because he had a heart transplant after the Nausicaan stabbed it in Tapestry.
Right.
Yes. Another good connection.
Nausicans.
So this episode was just chock full of really good references that were laid into the dialogue naturally. Nobody was really like, "Oh, you remember that time you got stabbed in the heart by the Nausicaan?" Nobody did that. It was just a thing that happened. And Picard was so playful with Kestra in that
They're
moment too.
showing it. They're
Right.
not telling it.
Right.
It's
Which
just
is
off the
happening
cuff
more
thing.
and more. Which is
Yeah.
why I'm loving it more and more. I love it.
So that is the trivia section for this episode.
Thank you, Dag.
Thanks, Dag.
Our human Checopedia.
So,
So
go ahead.
Any last
No,
words
Big J.
on the episode as it is before
Big J,
we
give
go
us your-
into
yeah.
the teaser?
give us your final thoughts. How about we give our final thoughts and we go into the teaser?
Okay. So final thought is buckle up and get ready for big ride. This was the last calm before the storm.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 3 more episodes, and I think it's going to be the breakneck pace that we've been waiting for all season. That's my prediction.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I would give this episode 5 Imzadis out of 5.
I would give this episode, I would say 8 out of 10 real tomatoes.
That's not bad.
Creative.
Those are fresh tomatoes.
They're fresh. You
They're not
know,
rotten.
I'm please, what's that fucking review site?
Rotten Tomatoes.
Rotten Tomatoes. Don't come for me. Okay, we're a small
Actually-
podcast. We're just trying to get by.
If you guys come for us, it means we made it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, it would be a
If you
compliment.
come for me, like that would be an honor, but please don't.
I think Picard's
No.
tracking between 80 and 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
No shit.
Yeah.
See, and all I hear today is like the Twitter like anger. But anyway, I don't want to acknowledge that really. But
Jay, you got a rating for us?
Okay, so for me, I think my rating is going to be, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 hues. 4 out of 5 hues.
and I'll give it the extra 1 hue because this was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
We're on track.
Yeah.
We lost Hugh, but we gained Kestra and we gained so much. And yeah, just like Big J said, buckle up because shit's coming. No, go ahead.
Oh, just another point on that was like the fans will probably be like, "Oh, why are we killing everybody off?" But how many times in an actor's career do they get the opportunity to both originate a character and kill them off?
I know.
It's not often.
Hugh,
Within like 4 episodes.
Jonathan Del Arco back in 91 was Hugh. And then again for 2 episodes between 93 and 94. He did 3
Mhm.
episodes, and that was 29 years ago. And he did 5 or 6 episodes of Picard, and he gets to play that character's death. I think that's a great thing for an actor.
To be
It's
able to go
awesome.
start to finish, yes.
Yeah. He also was for sure one of the heroes of the show so far. He was genuine, intelligent, compassionate. He took action when action needed to happen. It was very refreshing to see him on screen as one of the oldies, and I'll miss him. I'll miss him for sure, my sweet baby Hugh. But we still have our sweet baby Elnor, so let's not forget that for next time. For now. So let's go ahead and talk about the teaser. I think we're done kind of reviewing episode 7, Nepenthe. So
all right. Jay, you ready for this?
Right. Okay, so here's the thing. I am one of those folks that does not watch the teasers. I like to see it fresh when the episode comes up. And Dag and Watney would like to talk about the teaser. So what I'm going to do is going to sit back, take my headphones off, enjoy a little bit of my prune juice, and you guys will flag me when you're done with the teaser talk. So you guys, here you go. I'm just gonna take
all right.
these off.
All right, bye, Big J. Bye. Okay, so let's talk the teaser.
All right. So next episode, we are getting to we're hopefully we're gonna see this Jat Vash memory ritual and figure out what this whole shebang is all about. Why is this so bad, and why can't we just legitimately warn governments not to create synthetic life?
Yeah, the thing about the flashback and the ritual, to get into the weeds a little bit, it looks like it's on Vulcan.
You're not wrong. I mean, that is a very red
It's
planet.
a desert, hell. It's a fucking desert.
Yeah.
They're all wearing Vulcan robes, like ceremonial robes. We saw Spock's mother wear these robes in the Prime. Not the Prime.
Oh, yeah.
The Kelvin. We've seen lots of Vulcan robes. I mean, I honestly would say that they might be Vulcan. I don't know. We'll find out. So can you, I know that you probably screen grabbed a whole bunch of stuff, but talk to me about what you found, because I just watched it and absorbed it, but I'd like to hear any details you've nabbed.
Well, let's see if you can see my screen here.
I can.
Okay, so this is that ritual.
Uh-huh.
And is it flickering back and forth?
It
What
is.
is wrong with you? Oh my gosh.
Okay, just go back to your camera. It's fine. Just describe to me.
All right. So we see this scene on Vulcan of the ritual beginning, and then we see some flashbacks, and there's this cyborg with these orange eyes that are going to turn green. And I have no idea what that means, but in Picard, the eyes flashing for synthetic life have been very important. We see it with Index when Picard goes and checks out his little inventory of pictures.
Uh-huh.
We see it with the flashback to F8. His eyes go flash before he goes buggy.
Right.
So this synth's eyes are flashing. And so what is this synth all about? Who is this synth? I'm trying to do take the actors and put their face masks over and put their faces over. Do they match up? Is this Dodge? Is this Soji? Is this Commodore O? Who is this synth?
It's kind of like if you look at this point of the look forward, the teaser, you're seeing all of these people who did this ceremony, who did this ritual. They're dying of radiation, or they're killing themselves. They're not having fun. So I'm sure they saw something, and I'm sure Commodore O was the only one that got away, and the rest of them probably died.
I think that mind bendiness is what's causing them. There's a picture from this episode where we see Commodore O and she's clawing at her face.
I don't think that's her. That's too young to be her.
Okay.
I'm actually paused on it right now on my screen, and that's definitely not her.
Okay.
She's tearing at her face, pulling it off because she just saw something. So I think that's someone who dies. Yeah. So we see a planet explode. Soji and Picard are back on the ship. Elnor probably gets in another fight, right? And
in the teaser, we see Elnor fighting Romulans, and then Seven shows up. And
my baby girl, that's right.
And if you haven't seen The Ready Room hosted by Will Wheaton, there's a clip from next week. Elnor and Seven have a really awesome hug. And Seven is just the mama bear. We see a bunch of these little ships like coming
I
off of the
know, that was
hull
so
of the Borg
weird.
cube.
Like
It's
a little
weird.
puzzle. Yeah, it was almost like the
Yeah.
ships that Narek, Hrayan, I don't know what to call him now.
Harayan.
Justin Bieber Romulan, as I called him last episode.
Uh,
It looks like the ships that he left in. It could not be. Who knows? It does look like ships though, like little
yeah.
ships forming something around
Well, and as we get
something.
to the end of this trailer, I'm gonna have a more cohesive theory.
Okay, let's continue on.
But so yeah, we get these little ships attacking or looking like they're either attacking or coming off the cube. We get this really awesome visual of the cube before 3 Romulan warbirds pop into it. What I like about the visual
Yes.
of the cube is it shows this little like crater in the side of the cube, and lodged in that is a Borg sphere. And we first saw those in Star Trek First Contact. So I think that is just a cool detail that they left into this cube, is this sphere that's just kind of there. After that, we see a bunch of the ex-Borgs going onto the floor, and there's somebody underneath, and I don't know who that is. I've added captions like, are the ex-Borgs, are they going over to Hugh and healing his wound? Is this Elnor who's going to get assimilated? Is this the Borg going after Narissa?
I don't think Elnor is going to get assimilated. He has too much plot armor now because he's called the Fenris. Like, he called her in. Seven might die. Like, she might either die or become the Borg queen, and maybe that's the same thing to her.
Could be.
Like, also we see Rios opening up maybe like a weapons crate or something like that.
We do see that.
We don't know what's in there, but he looks happy to see it.
I was hoping it was a cigar.
It's definitely his humidor. And then Jurati is laying in bed, and Picard's like, "Hell is coming," or something. What does he say? Hell's on its way.
Well, she's like, "Hell's gonna get here," and he's like,
yeah, you see,
"I've been through hell," or something like that. So like,
oh yeah, you see the XBs doing that thing. They look almost like a zombies. They're like touching him.
I don't know who that is. I'd like to think that optimally, I'd like to think that's Narissa.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll
because
see.
Later in the teaser, we see Narissa just going and shooting XBs like they're like crazy, and that pisses me off.
Yeah, and then we also see the on the La Sirena, Rios banging on a fucking force field. Like he's been locked out of the cockpit.
Right.
So what the fuck is going on there? We also see this big light streaming more light out of it. What the fuck is that?
So I'll tell you what.
What do you think it is?
The dominant theory is that is they're opening a transwarp conduit to get to Soji's home.
Holy shit! They're probably doing that. You're right. You're 100% right. That's a fucking conduit. Because there's chronoton radiation.
Well, the chronoton radiation's for time travel, but they do.
But isn't a transwarp conduit? Doesn't it use that or something? Or no, it like folds space.
Yeah,
or something.
It does weird stuff.
Oh my god, there's so much to take in. Also, Picard looking snatched, looking fine as hell in his outfit in this teaser. I'm excited to see his fashion going forward. I'm a big Trek fashion girl, so I'm really excited to see his get-ups. What else? Yes. Oh, okay. So it's really kind of short after all this, but you do see Narissa going in on some XBs in the lab where they were disassembling and like ziplocking the pieces of the Borg earlier, where Soji like said the like calming words to the XB, like "you're free now" or something in his native tongue. In that room, we see Narissa come in and start shooting them. So maybe they take Hugh and they're trying to revive him or something, and she comes in and tries to stop them.
Well, remember, she did say in this particular episode her reasons why she hated being on the cube, and they relate back to being Zhat Vash. The Borg are an abomination to her. She hates this cube. She hates the XB. She wish she could just kill them all, but Hugh's Federation, and there's a stupid treaty in place.
But she also is carrying out a mission.
Yep.
And I'm sure that her position becomes more and more compromised when Seven shows up. So we'll have to see how all of that happens. And my theory is Narissa's like I'm gonna become the fucking Borg Queen. I finally found out where this queen cell is, and I'm gonna like fuck my shit up and go do that.
Uh,
Uh, and Seven's like, I can't let her do that because Seven would need a very compelling reason to become the queen unless she's forced to do it.
well, I kind of feel like becoming assimilated would be against Narissa's character, but I don't think it's wrong. Narissa may travel into the wrong part of the cube and forcibly get assimilated. But we do see Seven do some holographic, what I like to call the Wrath of Seven stuff. She's just
Yeah.
pissed. She's not happy to be here. She's pissed. She's a storm, and she
This
is
is like her
happening
childhood.
right here.
She's fucking hacking her childhood right
Right,
now. Yeah.
right. And that last scene in the trailer, you've got the cables snapping into Seven. Seven's eyes go black, and she is screaming. And I am just I'm floored. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if like she's forcibly being into this or if she's going, no one's going to take control of this cube except me.
Yeah. Seven is she's so brazen now. She's so throwing herself to the wind for the better of other people that I could almost see the bridge being crossed to becoming the Borg queen of the cube and then destroying the cube. And then maybe we're off the cube.
Yeah.
I think we got other places to be, honestly. So I could see her doing that, but I don't understand why if it's disconnected from the collective, why it would be such a threat unless there was something else going on. I mean, I'm sure we'll figure it out next
I like
episode.
that idea
but
that Seven, like, I'm going to take these XPs someplace where they can be safe.
yeah, but once you become the queen of the cube, I mean, she's not going to be connected to the collective unless they reconnect the cube for some reason.
Maybe. But we'll see that when it comes. I'm really hoping that she gets sort of a happy story where she becomes she can take Hugh's place as a leader of these Borg who are disconnected, because that was what Hugh was in Descent. He had led these disconnected Borg to lore.
Okay, yeah.
One thing I note here is that her implant looks like it's the right color from Voyager. It doesn't look black like it did in the previous episode that she was in.
Okay.
It looks like silver, and I'm just wondering, maybe that's just something I much attention to. I don't know. But
Who
that's the
knows?
last
Yeah.
scene of that trailer.
That's the last scene, so we're gonna cut the teaser talk and bring Big J back in. Come on, my friend. So yeah, that's
Geez, like Thelma and Louise just out talking while you're shopping at the
I know
mall.
we can't help it. We're just
Ride
those
or die,
kind of
Watney.
people.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right. We ready to wrap up the baby?
Sure. So everyone, your final thoughts are pretty good, right? It's
Yeah, I'm pretty solid.
Successful.
Watney,
Okay.
where can people find us?
I'm so glad you asked. Let me tell you, Dax. So we do have a Patreon. We would love if you could support us there. We are continually growing and adding to our perks for every tier. If you have feedback on us on our Patreon, let us know. Like, what would you like to see for our tiers? Is this something that you're dying for? Send us some feedback on there. You can find our Patreon at patreon.com/beyondtrek. We are also super active on Twitter. You can find us there at Beyond Trek Pod. Tweet us, tell us what your thoughts were. And we'll definitely see you on there if you're active on Twitter. And then we also have, of course, our Facebook group, facebook.com/Beyond Trek Productions. Find us there, follow us there, like us there. Chat with us there. We always want to hear more from our listeners, and that's pretty much where you can find us online.
And if you've listened to this ridiculousness and you have words to say, let us know by dropping comments on our Facebook or Twitter with the hashtag BeyondMe. Or if you're really brave, you can drop a 30-second voice clip to beyondtrekpodcast@gmail.com. We'll read your thoughts and play back your clips on our next show.
Yes. Write us, please. We want to hear from you.
We would love to hear from you.
Yes, let us know what your thoughts are as we move forward onto episode 8.
And
Yes.
thank you so much for listening to Beyond Trek podcast. Go beyond with us next week.
Live long and prosper.
Bye.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your ears. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will adapt to subscribe to us. Resistance is futile.